Here at the York Region Forest. Oh, it's beautiful. We had a huge snowstorm by Southern Ontario standards last night, about 10 to 20 centimeters of snow. -9 Celsius now, and I'm here walking the Brown Hill track. So let's talk Solo Stove. Solo Stove is a lightweight twig stove. Lightweight, compact. The Solo Stove Lite, which was the one I purchased, came with a 36-ounce, 1-liter cook pot. It's a great stove for the backcountry if the place that you're camping at has an abundance of wood and there's no fire ban in effect. So I'm going to go over the tips and tricks that I've come up with the experience of using the Solo Stove. If you plan on camping any place that has a decent amount of wood and there's no fire ban in effect, it's a great complement to a liquid fuel stove like a gas canister stove. I wouldn't completely rely upon the Solo Stove Lite to cook your meals or boil your water, simply because if you run into issues finding dry fuel, dry wood, you're SOL. So the first tip using the Solo Stove Lite is to make sure you gather all your fuel, your wood, ahead of time before you start the fire. The wood that I find is good is usually dry twigs, about this much in diameter, about 2 to 4 inches long, 1 to 2 inches in diameter. I found that usually a handful of twigs like this small will be good enough to boil 1 to 2 cups of water. It says you can use pine cones and leaves and other biomass, but personally those tend to create a lot of smoke and hard to manage with when feeding the fire. So make sure you have your twigs already prepared, already processed, so you don't have to go searching for it, because the Solo Stove requires continuous care as you are using it. It burns through fuel really quickly, so as soon as you stop paying attention for 2 to 5 minutes, it's going to burn through all your wood that you have in there and you'll have to start it up again. It's also good to find nice flat ground because it tends to be fairly small. If it's uneven, it can top your pot over and spill all that work that you've been trying to accomplish. What's highly recommended is also to have an aluminum windscreen set up to protect the flame from the elements, because it is also very sensitive to strong winds and it can make the stove not work as efficiently. I also found that if you're going to boil water in the solo pot, try not to put more than 2 cups of water in at any given time, because it's just going to take longer to boil the whole capacity of it, which is 1 liter, 36 ounces. And working with small batches of water is also easier, just because when you're working with 1 liter, it tends to be a little precarious working with that much hot water. A little bit of off balance and all of it can tip over. Smaller batches are easier to handle, less tending to the flame. If you're working with smaller batches, you can get a boil on fairly quickly, somewhere between 7 to 10 minutes. I also recommend not cooking your food in the solo pot directly, because it can be a little pain in the butt to clean it up, and the solo pot is also the thing that you will be storing the solo stove in after each use, so it becomes a little bit of a pain to have to clean it up versus just wiping it down from water. One thing I would recommend when working with this solo stove, or just any fire in general, is to have fire resistant, heat resistant gloves. Although the solo pot does have a handle, the flames have a tendency to heat it up, and it makes handling it with bare hands almost impossible. It gets way too hot for that. It also helps to have a pair of heat resistant, heat-proof gloves to help you feed the fuel into the fire without getting your hands burned. Unburnt hands is a good thing. So if you're going to a place that does not have much in way of biomass, wood, sticks, then the solo stove does have an alcohol canister that you can use to burn alcohol with, but it takes away some of the fun. And if you are using the solo stove, I highly recommend bringing your canister stove as a backup, because you can definitely get frustrated trying to get the fire going. All right, let's get out of here. The wind just picked up. Civilization. Oh, we're out. Can't see anything. Oh, what's this? I think someone left a message.